The desert wind carried the smell of smoke and blood across the hills of Hattin. Thousands of Crusaders lay dead beneath the burning Middle Eastern sun. The kingdom of Jerusalem had collapsed in a single catastrophic battle. And inside Saladin's war tent sat the most hated man in the Islamic world. Not a king, not a conqueror, but a Crusader lord so reckless that he once threatened the holy cities of Mecca and Medina themselves. Years earlier, rumors spread across the Muslim world like wildfire. A Frankish warlord had entered the Red Sea. Pilgrims were being attacked. Merchant ships burned. And for the first time in history, Crusader forces were moving toward Islam's holiest lands. Panic erupted from Cairo to Damascus. Some believed the Crusaders wanted to destroy the Kaaba itself. Others feared they would massacre pilgrims during Hajj. And one man swore revenge: Saladin. But when the moment finally came, Saladin did something historians still talk about today. He spared kings. He spared nobles. He spared enemies who had fought against him for years. But one man he executed personally. This is the story of the Crusader who went too far. Long before Saladin became the dominant ruler of the Middle East, the Crusader states were already unstable. The kingdom of Jerusalem was divided by politics, greed, and rival nobles constantly competing for power. But among them all, one figure stood apart: Reynald of Châtillon. Even by Crusader standards, Reynald was infamous. He was violent, unpredictable, and obsessed with wealth and glory. Originally a French knight, Reynald rose to power through marriage and warfare during the Second Crusade era. But what truly shaped his reputation was not bravery. It was brutality. At one point, Reynald was captured by Muslim forces and imprisoned for nearly 16 years in Aleppo. 16 years. Most men would emerge broken, but Reynald came out even more ruthless. After his release, he gained control of the massive desert fortress of Kerak, a strategic castle overlooking caravan routes between Egypt and Syria. And that changed everything, because now Reynald controlled one of the most important trade arteries in the region. Every caravan passing through the desert became a potential target. Muslim merchants, travelers, pilgrims, even during periods of official peace. That was the problem. At the time, Saladin was trying to unify the Muslim world against the Crusader states. But maintaining unity required stability. Peace treaties mattered. Trade mattered. Pilgrimage routes mattered. Reynald ignored all of it. Over and over again, he attacked caravans protected by truces. And each time Saladin protested. Each time Reynald escalated further. Eventually, even some Crusader leaders feared him, because Reynald was becoming more than a rogue noble. He was becoming a threat capable of igniting a holy war across the region. And then, he crossed a line no Crusader had crossed before. In 1182, Reynald launched one of the most shocking operations of the Crusades. Instead of attacking from land, he turned toward the sea, specifically the Red Sea. Today, that may not sound unusual, but in the 12th century, it was almost unthinkable. The Red Sea was considered deep inside the Islamic world. It connected Egypt to the Arabian Peninsula. It carried trade, pilgrims, and supplies toward Mecca and Medina. For centuries, Muslim powers had dominated those waters. The Crusaders were never supposed to be there, but Reynald had an audacious plan. At the Gulf of Aqaba, near the northern edge of the Red Sea, he ordered ships to be constructed in pieces. The wooden parts were carried across harsh desert terrain, then reassembled near the coast. Soon, a small Crusader fleet entered the Red Sea itself. The reaction was immediate: shock, fear, confusion. Muslim merchants reported attacks on ships. Coastal settlements were raided. Panic spread through the Hijaz region. And then the rumors began. The Franks are coming south. They are heading toward the holy cities. They want to attack Mecca, maybe even destroy the Kaaba. Whether Reynald truly intended to reach Mecca remains debated by historians. Some believe the expedition was mainly for raiding and terror. Others think Reynald genuinely dreamed of striking Islam at its symbolic heart. But honestly, at that moment, the distinction barely mattered, because psychologically the damage was already done. For the first time since the rise of Islam, Christian Crusader forces were operating inside the Red Sea, and the Islamic world panicked. Imagine hearing that hostile foreign forces had entered the waters leading to your holiest cities. That was the fear gripping the region. This was no longer just border warfare. It felt existential, and Saladin knew it. Saladin reacted quickly. If Reynald's fleet continued south unchecked, the consequences could be catastrophic. Not only militarily, but symbolically. Allowing Crusaders to threaten the pilgrimage routes would destroy confidence in Muslim leadership across the region. So Saladin ordered an immediate response. His brother, Al-Adil, coordinated efforts while Muslim naval commanders moved to intercept the Crusader ships. One commander in particular became crucial: Lulu, an experienced naval officer loyal to Saladin. The hunt began across the Red Sea. The Crusader raiders, isolated deep inside hostile waters, suddenly found themselves pursued from multiple directions. One by one, Muslim forces intercepted the ships. Some Crusaders attempted to flee. Others landed on coastal areas searching for supplies. It did not matter. The trap was closing. Several raiders were captured near the Arabian coast. Others were killed outright. The expedition collapsed before it could approach Mecca directly. But even though the military threat ended, the emotional impact remained enormous. In Muslim chronicles, the expedition became remembered as an outrage against Islam itself, a violation of sacred space. And Reynald's name became permanently associated with the fear of Crusaders reaching the holy cities. Saladin never forgot it. Neither did the wider Muslim world. From this point forward, Reynald was no longer just another Crusader lord. He had become personal. After the Red Sea expedition failed, Reynald still refused to stop. Incredibly, he continued attacking Muslim caravans despite ongoing truces. And these were not minor raids. Some caravans carried merchants. Others carried civilians and pilgrims. At one point, Reynald allegedly captured a caravan connected to Saladin's own family and ignored demands for release. Saladin was furious. According to medieval chroniclers, Saladin repeatedly warned the Crusader kingdom that Reynald's actions would eventually trigger total war. But the kingdom of Jerusalem was weak politically. Its rulers struggled to control powerful nobles like Reynald. And Reynald understood that. He acted almost independently. Then came the final provocation. In 1187, Reynald attacked another large Muslim caravan traveling under truce protection. This time, Saladin decided enough was enough. The diplomatic phase was over. The war that followed would change the Middle East forever. Saladin gathered one of the largest Muslim armies seen during the Crusades. For years, he had worked carefully to unite Egypt, Syria, and surrounding Muslim territories under his leadership. Now he was ready. The Crusader kingdom marched out to confront him near the Horns of Hattin, west of the Sea of Galilee. And almost immediately, things went wrong. Saladin understood the terrain perfectly. The summer heat was brutal. Water was scarce. Muslim cavalry harassed the Crusader columns constantly, preventing rest and cutting them off from water sources. As exhaustion spread, Saladin tightened the trap. Smoke from burning grass drifted toward the thirsty Crusader army. Men collapsed under the heat. Chaos erupted. Then the Muslim attack began in full force. The Battle of Hattin became a disaster for the Crusader states. Thousands died. Many of the kingdom's greatest nobles were captured, including King Guy of Jerusalem and Reynald of Châtillon. The man Saladin had pursued for years was finally in chains. After the battle, the captured leaders were brought before Saladin. What happened next became legendary. Inside the tent sat King Guy and Reynald. The atmosphere was tense. The Crusaders were exhausted, dehydrated, and terrified. Saladin offered King Guy a cup of cold water. In Middle Eastern custom, offering food or drink to a captive often symbolized protection and mercy. Guy drank, then he passed the cup to Reynald. Saladin immediately intervened. According to chroniclers, Saladin declared, "I did not give him to drink." In other words, the king was under Saladin's protection. Reynald was not. Then Saladin confronted him directly. Some accounts claim Saladin accused Reynald of repeatedly breaking treaties and attacking Muslims unlawfully. Other accounts say Reynald was invited to accept Islam and refused. The exact dialogue remains debated, but the ending is not. Saladin drew his sword and struck Reynald himself. His guards finished the execution moments later. The rest of the captured nobles were spared. Kings were spared. Lords were spared, but not Reynald. To many Muslims of the era, justice had finally arrived. The man who terrorized caravans, threatened holy routes, and violated truces was dead, killed not by an anonymous soldier, but by Saladin personally. What made Reynald's death so famous was not just the execution itself. It was the contrast. Saladin had a reputation, even among many Christian chroniclers, for mercy and restraint. After conquering Jerusalem later that same year, he did not carry out the kind of mass slaughter that had occurred when Crusaders captured the city in 1099. That mattered historically. So when Saladin personally killed Reynald, people understood something immediately. This was exceptional. Reynald had crossed lines others had not. Even centuries later, the story survived because it feels almost cinematic. A reckless warlord repeatedly provokes disaster. He threatens sacred places. He ignores every warning. And eventually, he comes face to face with the one ruler powerful enough to stop him. That is why modern films like Kingdom of Heaven adapted parts of the story. Though Hollywood changed details dramatically, the core idea remained the same. There was one enemy Saladin refused to forgive.